What is up, Steeler Nation? It's your man, Big B, Brian Hanley. Welcome to Steelers Almighty, man. We have got a great show for you guys today. It is almost the draft, so we're a little more draft-centric today, but man, we got some exciting topics. Some of them you guys asked for, so that's what we do, man. We listen and we put them out here. So let's get to it. First things first, we are talking about who are the biggest bust since 2020 that the Pittsburgh Steelers have drafted. I mean, first of all, there have been several. So whittling that down, it took a little bit, but we got, I think we got 5 names on here that you guys are going to like. So that's first. Next up, are the Steelers struggling? Are they slipping? We touched on that a little bit earlier in the week. Are the Steelers slipping? I thought it was important to talk about it again because there's some things that some trends that are not great for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Next up, we've got the top 5 Pittsburgh Steelers all-time draft picks. In my opinion, who are the top 5 Steeler draft picks? There's some good names. Some of my all-time favorites. This was a good research for that one. Good research. And then last but not least, make sure you guys obviously stick around for this. We got the mock draft. The last mock draft before the draft. This one is the one that I really want the Pittsburgh Steelers to do. Now, granted, obviously we can't, dictate exactly what's going to happen in the draft because if we could, that'd be easy. But if things fall into place, this is where I would like the Steelers to go with their draft picks. So a lot of stuff going on this episode. Appreciate you all being in here. Again, you can always find us on youtube.com/Steelers Almighty. Anywhere that you have social media, Steelers Almighty is there. And if you prefer the audio version, anywhere you get a podcast, Steelers Almighty will be there. So remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in those comment sections, and always hit the notification bell so you know exactly when Steelers Almighty content comes out. Let's get into this, people. So first is the biggest bust the Steelers since 2020. Now we could have went all time, and I think I can't remember his first name, but Rivera that the Steelers took instead of Dan Marino. And the thing about that is I wanted to go all time, but I said, let's cut it down to 2000. In 2000, not 2020, since 2000, excuse me. But yeah, I could have done that. But I think that guy, he got in a car wreck and got paralyzed, but he was starting to have a good season. He had 2 sacks the first 6 games. I don't know if he would have been a bust or not had he not been paralyzed. So we'll see. But either way, this is the situation that we're doing today. So their impact on the NFL, that's part of the criteria that we're throwing out there today with this. What was their impact in the NFL, or better yet, with the Pittsburgh Steelers? And it doesn't have to be a first-round draft pick either. That's one of the things. It does not have to be a first-round draft pick. Now, saying that, obviously you're not going to have a 7th rounder on here saying, oh, well, the guy in the 7th round, God, he was terrible. Well, he got drafted in the 7th round for a reason, so more than likely it's going to be a first, no later than a 2nd-round draft pick. Keep all of that in mind when we're going through this. And we're just going to go from 1 to 5. Number 1, Jarvis Jones. I mean, I know just bringing up his name just brings heartache to a lot of Steeler fans' minds, mine as well. Just not heartache for me, a headache for me. Because I'm like, he looked the part, had the tools, just could not put it together on the football field. He was 17th pick in 2013. He had a whopping 6 career sacks, people. 6 sacks. Not 6 in a season, not 6 a year. No. In the 4 years that he played in the National Football League, which, again, that's another thing. He only played 4 years. Nobody's counting that cup of coffee that he had in Arizona. That don't count. 6 sacks in 4 years. That's awful. Again, the number 17 pick in 2013. He just didn't have NFL pass rush moves. He just didn't have that. He got by in obviously in high school, but in college, he was just more athletic than everybody. So then he used that. So any move that he made people are thinking, oh man, this guy's unworldly, until you face offensive tackles that have athleticism, long arms, strength, and you're trying to get around them. And you don't have any pass rush moves, it's not going to work out. It's just not going to work out. And it didn't work out, And I look, early in his career, he was making tackles. He played the run pretty good, but that's why he didn't stick around in the National Football League, is because he couldn't stop the run anymore. That's what he was fairly good at early on. But once he couldn't stop the run, well, let me get this straight. You're an outside linebacker that can't rush the passer and you can't tackle anybody. I mean, where is your place in the National Football League? You're not a special teams guy. It's something he didn't. Let's get him out of there. So Jarvis Jones, he's number one on my list. Number two on the list, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Artie Burns. Come on down. 25th pick in 2016. Now, here's the thing about Artie Burns. I happen to be at his welcome to the NFL party. Y'all remember 2016, the year, I think it was 16, when Patrick Mahomes, his breakout game, and I believe that's when it was. It may have been 2017 when it was Patrick Mahomes threw for 5 touchdowns in Heinz Field. I happened to be at that game. Now, you all know my wife is a diehard Chiefs fan. That was tough to take. That was tough to take. But we were there, and we saw that brutality. That was disgusting. And Artie Burns was just a cornerback that just couldn't cover anybody. Now, here's the thing. Artie Burns, awful with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had 4 picks in his 4 years there. 3 of them were in his first year. But Artie Burns was just not good. But Artie Burns is still getting an NFL check, ladies and gentlemen, 10 years later. So as bad as he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and let's not kid ourselves, he was god-awful. God-awful. First, I don't think it was his fault where he got drafted, because I don't think anybody had even heard his name and knew who he was before the Steelers took him. I'm like, why are we drafting this guy 25? Like, we don't even know who he is. And that's what happened. And lo and behold, he played like nobody knew who he was. Or better yet, the opposing teams knew exactly who he was and said, we're going after this guy because he can't cover. But he's still in the National Football League. That's what amazes me. But teams constantly targeted him. They did not go away from him. They went after him. He's on the field, throw the ball to his guy, wherever he's at. Whether he's on the outside, if he's in slot corner, wherever he is, we're throwing it to him. And the famous thing, all you saw, Artie Burns, he's always chasing. Somebody running free, he's chasing. That's all it ever was, man. I was just like, my goodness, this guy, he must have been awful in tag, because even when guys caught the ball, he couldn't even touch them to tackle them. I'm like, man, this is bad. But Artie Burns is number 2, ladies and gentlemen. But again, I'm going to give him credit. Still in the league, still getting a check. And there's got to be something said for that. Number 3, Limas Swede. Ooh, Limas Swede. Now, there's an argument that Limas Swede could have been number 1. There's a big argument to be made, but the reason that I didn't is because Limas Swede's career was derailed because the man just couldn't be healthy. Now, you know my rule. I don't give guys excuses for being injured, but the difference here is that he couldn't play. Like, he's out. Didn't see the field a lot at all. First of all, he couldn't beat out anybody. You're a second-round pick, and he's the 5th and 6th receiver. I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. What are we doing? Couldn't beat out anybody. Turns out he wasn't a good route runner. Turns out playing in a wide-open offense at Texas wasn't very conducive and did not translate at all to the National Football League, where you have to be able to run routes, get open in tight spaces, catch footballs in tight spaces. It's not something that Limas Swede, not something that he could do. Didn't excel at those traits. Let's just say that. Let's just be nice. Didn't excel in those traits. I like that. Either way, Limas Swede, terrible. 7 catches, people. No, not 7 catches in a game. No, not 7 catches in a month. No, not 7 catches in a season. In his career, 7 catches. That's it. 7. I mean, Lord have mercy. So this is a second round pick. I mean, Lyman Sweet was the 53rd pick in 2008. And that's all he had. Now, granted, he had a torn Achilles. He did that in minicamp in 2010. Coming in to the draft, that's one of the things. But what do they always say? If you limp into the NFL, you're going to limp out of the NFL. He had wrist surgery his senior year where he missed half the season at Texas. And that's why his draft stock fell, is because he had the surgery. He didn't play. He came back for the Senior Bowl, but he missed half of Texas season. And that was why his stock dropped, is because he was hurt. Turns out he stayed hurt, couldn't get it together. 7 catches in the National Football League. Disgusting. Disgusting. That was our 53rd pick in 2008. Lima Swede. Moving on. Number 4. Now, there's a lot of people that think that he should be higher on this list. Our main man, Devin Bush. Steelers moved up to take him. 2019, Steelers went from 20 to 10 to take my man, Devin Bush. Traded with the Chiefs, I believe that's who it was. But he started off good. Had 109 tackles, rookie year. Started off good. Wasn't great against the run, but, he's making the tackles. And then the next year he got hurt. Tore his ACL. Devin Bush has never been the same. Now, you could say, you know what, you feel bad for him, and we do, but he recovered. I mean, modern medicine is still modern medicine. He recovered. He came back, but he wasn't the same football player. And if you thought he was bad against the run his rookie year, he was worse after he came back for his injury. And teams knew it. They just, hey, we're lying. If he's there, just run the football at him. Just run the football at him. He's going to try to run around blocks. He doesn't like contact, and he doesn't take it on. It is what it is. Now, he's still in the league. He's a low-end middle linebacker, if that's what you want. But he was not a 10th. Number 10 pick, disaster. Just a disaster. And here's my thing about Devin Bush. We denied his 5th-year option, which, of course, we were going to, because he was terrible. When he was playing, he was terrible. But I remember in that mini camp when they interviewed him, and this stuck with me forever. And I'm like, I have no idea why you guys didn't cut him directly after that interview once you saw it. They said, hey, the Steelers didn't pick up your 5th-year option. What are your thoughts? And his quote was, yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to be in the NFL. That's literally what he said. Doesn't matter. I'm still going to be in the NFL. Steelers should have either traded him or cut him immediately. Said, yeah, we get it. It doesn't matter. You're not going to be here, and it doesn't matter to you. Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you. They should have just traded him immediately. Or they could have cut him because they didn't get any production out of him because he wasn't any good. But that's Devin Bush. Moved up 10 spots. See why I'm always a little leery about moving up so far? 10 spots for that. Yuck. Yuck, yuck, yuck. And then number 5 on the list. I debated on putting him on here, but I said, you know what? I have to. He has to be on this list. Good old baby hands, or should I say Kenny baby hands Pickett. Has to be on this list. Now, the first thing is, and part of it, again, it's not his fault. The Steelers reached for him. He was a 3rd round at best talent and did not deserve to be drafted with the number 20 overall pick. That's the Steelers' fault. That's not Baby Hand's fault, okay? He can't decide where somebody's going to draft him. But he just didn't play well. He just wasn't a very good quarterback. Now, one of the things, he's always hurt. Now, you don't blame people for being hurt, but the old adage, and it's true, the best ability is availability. He's always hurt. He gets out there, he gets hurt, tries to come back, yada, yada, yada. It's like, look, man, I need you to be out here. How can we depend on you? How can you continue to develop if you're constantly hurt? But the one thing the Steelers did, which I love, and my philosophy, it's one thing to make a mistake. We all make them. It's another thing to live in the mistake. The Steelers said, absolutely not. We know what we've gotten this guy. We're getting out. Now, it didn't hurt that he was 13 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Okay. That was easy to see. So it didn't hurt in their decision making. It also didn't hurt. Again, constantly injured. Not blaming him for being injured, but it's still a problem, regardless of the fact. Can't stay healthy. It didn't hurt that when he got hurt his second year and came back, our man Mason Rudolph is rolling. Said, hey, man, we need you to come back and be the emergency quarterback. Give yourself another week to heal. Apparently, Baby Hands didn't want to do that. Was furious. Or better yet, he didn't want to be the backup. So then he was the emergency quarterback. Steelers are like, hold on a second. What? Oh, you don't want to do that. Great. Also, didn't hurt. They signed Russell Wilson. Baby Hands said, hey, man, I'm not going to be no backup. I don't want to do this anymore. Steelers said, thank you very much. We will trade you as soon as possible. And they did that. And they traded for Justin Fields. And Baby Hands is now on his third team in 3 years because now he belongs to that wonderful, wonderful franchise, the Cleveland Browns. Good luck, sir. That's Baby Hands. Like I said, 20th pick overall. He can't justify where he was drafted, but the Steeler fans can. We can. Terrible pick. Disgusting bust. That's exactly what he is. Don't want to hear any other excuses. I know he had a couple of comeback victories and they won some football games, but overall, do you really think they were winning all those games because of Kenny Pickett? Or did he make a few plays by hanging around the defense, keeping the games close, and then he made a few plays at the end? And I'll give him credit for making the plays, but are we also going to give him credit for the horrible, horrible plays that he made? Yeah, I think we got to do that too. Let's get to the poll question, people. Baby Hands Pickett. Yuck. Poll question number 1. Who do you believe was the biggest draft bust in Steelers history since 2000? Is it A, Jarvis Jones, B, Artie Burns, C, Lima Swede, D, Devin Bush, or E, Baby Hands Pickett? Remember, when you answer the question, make sure you put a 1 by that number so we know exactly what poll question you guys are answering. I know who I'm picking on this list, but I'm going to wait to see. I'm going to wait to see. I think it's going to be interesting because I don't think this one's going to be I think it's going to be all over the board. No, usually some of these poll questions are, yeah, it's this, it's this, it's this. Yeah, I don't know about this one, people. I think this one's going to be all over the board, man. Either way, let's move on. So, are the Pittsburgh Steelers slipping? You know, is the franchise that was thought for so long to be basically the standard, and I know the standard is the standard. Now, I'm not getting into that part of it, but as far as the franchise run extremely well, you know, don't have issues at the top, don't have meddling owners getting in the way. I mean, it's just been the standard as far as franchises are concerned. Is that starting to change? You know, are things changing? Now, let's talk about it. Lower tier of franchises, you know, first off, I have the perfect example would be the Cleveland Browns. I mean, I know I laugh at the Cleveland Browns, but they deserve to be laughed at. They're the Browns. They stink. But that would be what I'm talking about as far as a laughing stock. The Carolina Panthers are another one that come to mind. You know, since they've changed ownership, they have just been absolutely awful. An owner that changes underwear or changes coaches like he changes underwear, excuse me. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So, but the Browns are terrible. That's what I'm talking about. You think about how Cincinnati, now look, Cincinnati's turned it around because you can't consistently miss on first round picks. That's what the Browns were doing for decades. Or not the Browns, the Bengals were doing it for decades. The Bengals were constantly, they kept having these first round picks, these high first picks, you know, in the top 4 every year. And they kept missing. You know, the Achilles Smiths of the world, the Kajana Carters of the world, you know, they just kept missing. Eventually, the percentages say that you have to hit on some of these guys, and they've done a much better job. I mean, let's just give them the credit that they deserve. The Bengals have done a much better job. But those are the type of franchises that I'm talking about that are mediocre, low tier. Now, the Steelers aren't close to that. So I want to make sure that I'm clear in saying that the Steelers are that, because they're not. But are the Steelers what they used to be as far as considered the prestigious franchise? I'm not talking necessarily value. I said, but just are they looked upon with the same stature? So here's the thing. It's almost been a decade since the Steelers have won a playoff game. Let's start there. Franchises that do that, for instance, wouldn't we be laughing at other franchises like that? Wouldn't I mean other franchises that hadn't won a playoff game in a decade? That'd be the first thing that we threw out at them if we got into a debate with them online. You haven't won a playoff game in a decade. Well, now people can say that about us. That's part right there is disgusting. So 3 wins in the last 10. 2016 versus Cincinnati. Ugh. 2017 versus Miami. Ugh. And 2017 versus Kansas City. Those are the last 3 wins in the playoff that the Steelers have had. Okay. Now, granted, going to Kansas City, again, I was there. That was a good football game. It was freezing cold, but that's the last one, man. We beat Miami earlier, in that game in Pittsburgh where I can't remember who their quarterback was, but he almost got his head decapitated. I remember that. I was like on the sideline. Y'all remember that hit? Oh, my goodness. Brutal. Brutal. And then we went to Kansas City. Remember, that was AB. Remember, AB was doing a Facebook Live in the locker room of Mike Tomlin afterwards. That was basically the beginning of the end of AB in Pittsburgh. Just absolute nightmare, that guy. And then we beat Cincinnati, and that was the game where it was the AB got knocked out. Vontez Burfict hit him. So that's what we're talking about, man. The last 10, we've got 3 playoff wins in the last. And again, we haven't had one in 8 years. We would be making fun of franchises that did that. That's the thing. So they're no longer a team that teams fear. Like, teams used to fear the Pittsburgh Steelers. One of the things is because when they were coming to town, they knew that your stadium was going to have a minimum of 35% of the fans in the stadium. Now, that's still true, but the team doesn't hold that same type of persona. We were coming there to bust your head in, you know, and I don't think that teams feel like that anymore about the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, Part of it's because the offense has been so bad. They're like, hey, they can't outscore us, you know, and the defense is still good, but it's not the fearsome defense we've seen before. Now, part of that is because of the rules. You can't, I mean, what are you going to do? They legislate out a lot of stuff that you can do defensively. So it is what it is. But we just have to be better. Mike Tomlin's way of winning, it's just not built for new football. It's just not that it's not conducive to the NFL right now. Unless they roll back some rules, which I don't see that happening, you just can't win 17-14. You just can't. It's just not the way that they're going to allow you to win. Not consistently. You can win a few football games in the regular season, but you're not winning that way in the playoffs. You're just not going to do it. You're just not going to do it. No matter what you try to do, they're not going to allow you to do that. Because here's the thing, the NFL wants entertainment. And as much as we may think that defense is entertaining and stopping somebody is entertaining, the NFL doesn't look at it that way. They like points. Steelers got to be able to score points, to win. And we haven't been able to do that in a while. So it's worn out. The part with Mike Tomlin is he's got to start delegating. His way of coaching, it just isn't going to work. He's had bad coordinators. It's ultra conservative. He's got to delegate some stuff, hire some analysts. It just needs an overhaul. It just needs an overhaul. And again, I've always said this. If Mike Tomlin just changed his ways, I think the majority of the people that don't want him around would come around because they're like, hey, the way you're doing it isn't working. Try and do some other stuff. But I also think those same people know that he's not going to. And unfortunately, I don't think he is either. And we're stuck with it for right now. A big part of this is also Art Rooney, or I should say Art Rooney the second. He's allowed the mediocrity. He 100% has embraced that mediocrity. Now, there's going to be some defenders of him, but how do you defend it? It's like you gave Mike Tomlin an extension when you didn't have to. Not just an extension, $15 million a year. I'm not getting hung up on the money, but it's the no trade clause that I'm hung up on. Wait a minute. What's he done to deserve a no trade clause? 50 million bucks. Again, I don't count other people's pockets. So if you want to pay him that, I'm not going to tell you no, or that it's a bad thing to do. And quite frankly, he's been in the job for a long time. He's probably earned it, I guess, at this point. But to the no trade clause, what if it were to better your team to get him out of there? If somebody said, hey, man, we'll give you a first round pick this year from Mike Tomlin. What if Chicago, which turns out Chicago did call the Steelers and asked about him, they were turned away. Well, if he didn't have the no trade clause, would he have been turned away? I don't know. I think it's odd, but he's got to take some responsibility. It used to be a desired destination. It's just not anymore. It's just not. And we got to get back to that. We've got to get back to Pittsburgh being a desired destination, whether that's fixing apparently the crappy locker rooms, the situation with families at the games, whatever it takes. Because Art Rooney is getting just destroyed as far as the NFLPA, that survey, the player survey that goes out, that he doesn't seem to care. Well, eventually you need to care because the teams that are good are getting treated better. Now, granted, you could say, well, look at the Chiefs. I get that. But the Chiefs also have a quarterback and a head coach. Okay, when you have those two things, some other stuff are going to slide. The Pittsburgh Steelers don't have the luxury of having an Andy Reid and a Patrick Mahomes. So you can't let other things slide. You see what I'm saying? You see where the difference is? Art Rooney got to take some responsibility. We got to get back to being a desired place. We got to get back to being who we used to be, and it needs to start now. We don't have to wait 5 years. We don't have to wait 10 years. We don't have to wait at all. It can be a place right now. Turn it around. Figure it out. But all the nonsense has got to stop. And it starts at the very, very top. A lot of people want to poke the bear at Mike Tomlin. And I don't disagree, but Mike Tomlin doesn't run the organization. That's Art Rooney II. He's in charge. He needs to fix it. Period. End of story. Let's go to the poll question, people. Poll question number 2. Will the Steelers' legacy and mystique keep it from ever becoming a lower tier franchise? And again, just for context, lower tier franchise, Carolina Panthers and our own lovely Cleveland Browns. Those would be lower tier franchises, people. So, A, yes, Steelers will always relevant to elite. B, no, all kingdoms and dynasties can and will eventually fall. I mean, I like that answer. C, maybe we won't stay there unless Tomlin is still the coach. Interesting choices. Very interesting choices. Remember, when you put your answer down, make sure to put a 2 next to the letter so we know exactly which poll question you are answering. Let's get to the halftime, people. So, again, I want to thank everybody here for all the support that you guys have given us over the year that we have been in existence. April 4th was our anniversary, so I appreciate that, everybody. Look, everything that we have done is based on you guys. Putting out the information is based on you, or the content, I should say, is based on what you guys want and what you guys respond to. So we're going to continue to do that. Remember our schedule in the off season. We're going to continue it. We have on Mondays, we have our evening lives that we do at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Tuesday is the big show with me and Big G. Again, 8 Eastern. 7 Central. That's live as well on Thursday. And we have live in the morning. But they're called rants. That's at 9 East, or actually at 10 Eastern, 9 Central time. And then we have our podcast on Friday. Slip in between there. We also have our little town halls that we do from time to time. If anything comes out, or if I just feel like talking to you guys, just pick up the phone and get out there. So it's a lot going on. As the season gets closer, we're going to have a little bit more of a schedule that comes out structured more to football related activities and football stuff, like schedules and opponents, all that good stuff. But we got plenty of time for that. Remember, we're going to be live streaming the draft next Thursday, so make sure you guys tune in. We'll make sure that we get out all the dates and schedules and everything lined up for you guys, so it's not a last minute thing or a surprise. So again, appreciate everybody being in here. Continue to like, follow. Make sure you hit the like button. It's something that YouTube has kind of been hammering us on lately. I don't know why, but they are. So make sure you continue to help support us. Hit the like button and always hitting those comments and notification bell. Remember, we also have memberships that are available as well. Memberships, you can sign up for those. We have 5 different tiers. If you notice in the lives, the members always get their comments, questions, or rants up on the screen. They obviously get priority for us. If you help and support the channel that way, you're going to get a priority for us. We also have the all 22s. You have to be at least the level 4 member or higher to be able to get on those. We have our own private Facebook page that we send all those out to that you guys will have access to. So it's a pretty sweet deal. Just click on the link, takes you right over there, and boom, you get our all 22 breakdown. We're doing all the games from this past season, the 2024 season. That we're almost, and we're not quite midway. And we're on game 7 that we're going through. So make sure you sign up if you want to help support the channel that way. We appreciate everybody's support. So let's get to it. All right. Next up, super fun. Super fun. Great, great research on this one. The top 5 Steeler draft picks of all time. Now, you know the rich history that the Pittsburgh Steelers have. I mean, there is a plethora of guys that you could put on this list. Just a plethora from every position. Literally every position you could put up here as far as the top 5 Steeler draft picks of all time. But I've got my 5, and we're going to go over them. And actually, again, we're doing them in order from 1 to 5 in my eyes as far as draft picks are concerned. This one will be fun. Again, it's based on their impact with the franchise. I think that's key. Based on their impact with the franchise. So it doesn't have to be a first round pick. But these are my top 5 as far as helping the Steelers get to be where we are right now as the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 1, my favorite Steeler of all time, Mean Joe Green. I don't have any qualms, questions about it. Mean Joe Green. I mean, he was the 4th overall pick in 1969. In my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions, not just mine, one of the greatest defensive tackles of all time. That just one of the greatest defensive tackles of all time. Played with an attitude, but the accolades, look, I could go over all of them. But he's a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year in 72 and 1974, 5-time first team All-Pro, 3-time second team, 10-time All-Pro. He's part of the NFL 1970s, the All 70s team, 75 anniversary team, or the 75th anniversary team, the 100th anniversary team. And oh, by the way, he was the cornerstone of the Steel Curtain defense. And he happened to just make the Hall of Fame. I mean, I guess they just threw him in there in 1987. Mean Joe Green, absolutely incredible. To me, everybody knows he was the pick that started it all. And it didn't start off easy right away either. Like, they didn't pick him and the Steelers, just automatically were great. No, it took a few years. But they were absolutely great. And he was one of the guys that started all and was great as well. Number 2 on the list, Terry Bradshaw. Now, look, I'm not saying that Terry Bradshaw was the greatest quarterback in Steelers history because I don't think that he was. Ben Roethlisberger is better than Terry Bradshaw. I don't think there's any question about that. Not in my mind, anyway, and probably not in a lot of your minds. But let's not kid ourselves. He was the first overall pick in 1970. He won 4 Super Bowls. 4. He was the quarterback of 4 Super Bowl victories. 2-time Super Bowl MVP. He was also the most valuable player in the National Football League in 1978. A lot of people don't know that or recognize that. He had a first team All Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL passing touchdown leader. He was a member of the 70s All Decade team and a member of the Hall of Fame in 1989. That's Terry Bradshaw. Again, first overall pick, clash with Chuck Noll early on. Doesn't have the gaudiest stats. That was back in the day. They didn't throw the ball, 40, 50 times a game like they do now. And when they did throw the ball, it was deep down the field. So a lot of times it was getting picked off or passes were incomplete. Like they weren't throwing, if you threw the ball, I don't know, 18 times a game, 10 of those weren't quick slants. No, they're throwing the ball down the field to Swan and Stallworth. That's exactly what was happening. So Terry Bradshaw, he is number 2 for me because when he was drafted or his draft pick, look, they needed a quarterback. He was the guy. Again, didn't start off great, but he was the leader, and they needed a leader. That was Terry Bradshaw. Number 3, Rod Woodson. Now, my personal opinion, Rod Woodson, in my eyes, is the second best Pittsburgh Steeler ever. That's just what I think. You can disagree. You can say, no way. Come on, Big B, you're crazy. No. I think Rod Woodson is the second best Steeler right behind Mean Joe Green. That's how good I believe Rod Woodson was. I don't even think it's my belief. That's just how good the man was. Again, he was the 10th overall pick, 1987, out of Purdue. He was Defensive Player of the Year, 1993, 6-time first team All Pro. 5 of those were with the Steelers. He played. That's why I tried to distinguish at the very beginning what you did for the Steelers franchise. So 5 times, he was 11-time Pro Bowler. Most interceptions returned for touchdowns in NFL history with 12. Just in case people didn't know, yeah, Rod Woodson's the guy. 12. He has the record. It's not Deion Sanders or Darrell Green, or apparently Asante Samuel thinks that he's in that class of defensive backs, which he absolutely is not. But no, he doesn't have the record either. It would be Rod Woodson. Rod Woodson. So, not to mention, he was in the 1990s NFL All-Decade team, NFL's all-time 75 and 100th anniversary teams. Oh, by the way, he's also in the NFL Hall of Fame, got inducted in 2009. Rod Woodson was that guy. Didn't like the way that his career ended in Pittsburgh. I'll be honest with you. I know we love Bill Cowher. Bill Cowher was 100% wrong. Rod Woodson couldn't play anymore. Well, yeah, he could. And not only could he play, yeah, he moved to safety, but he played it extremely well. Extremely well. He wasn't just finished when he left Pittsburgh. No, he wasn't. He wasn't. Matter of fact, he won a Super Bowl somewhere else. Let's not talk about where, but he did. But yeah, Rod Woodson was that guy. He was absolutely that guy. Like I said, it didn't end well, but that was Bill Cowher's fault because he didn't want to leave. He could still play and said, nope, we got to get him out of here. And he basically just said, okay, great. I'm going to prove y'all wrong. And he did. Rod Woodson, number 3 on the list. Number 4, Franco Harris. R.I.P. Franco Harris in the Immaculate Reception. Look, a lot of people didn't know that when he retired, he was number 2 on the all-time rushing list. Number 2 when he retired. Franco was the 13th pick in 1972, 4-time Super Bowl champion, first team All-Pro 1 time, second team All-Pro 2 times, 9-time Pro Bowler, NFL rushing touchdowns leader in 1976. He's a member of the 1970s All-Decade team. Basically, the All-Decade team was damn near all Steelers. You go and look at that thing and you're like, holy mackerel, they were good. Yeah, the Steelers were really good. Really good. But yeah, it's just littered with Steelers on the 70s all-decade team. Franco Harris, also a member of the NFL Hall of Fame, 1990. The Immaculate Reception. If anybody's ever been to Pittsburgh and you've flown in there, there is a statue of him making the catch. With my first time in Pittsburgh, first time I went to a game, I saw that thing. I was like, oh my God, I don't know. My wife, she was like, well, Brian, you're starstruck and it's a statue. I go, it is. I don't know. It's my first time here. I'm a diehard Steeler fan. I'd never seen anything like it. I thought, this is incredible. This place must be really special. And it is. It is to us Steeler fans. And Franco, the main thing about Franco was an outstanding football player. He was an incredible football player, but he was a better man. Like everybody said the same thing. He didn't turn down an autograph or a picture, always shook a hand, always smiled. You know, those are the kind of guys that you like. Gone too soon. Gone too soon. I know he died. I think it was 2 years ago, may have been 3. I don't want to disrespect the time, but just gone too soon. Franco Harris, man. Just a great, great Steeler. Great Steeler, man. And then last but not least, number 5 on my list, Troy Polamalu. I think Troy is the second best safety to ever play in the National Football League. People try to tell me Ed Reed was better. I'm not trying to hear that because Ed Reed wasn't a tackler. Okay? Ed Reed wasn't going to punch you and hit you in the mouth and knock you out. Troy was going to do that. He was also going to jump over your line and make a tackle in the backfield. Yeah, you could say that Troy, he gambled a lot. You know, he was out of position. Well, he was out of position and gambled, but then he made the play in the backfield. So it is what it is. You're not going to convince me that Ed Reed was better than him. I'm just not going to listen to that. I'm just not going to listen to it. I love Troy Polamalu, loved how he played with a reckless abandon. He was the 16th pick out of USC in 2003. Two-time Super Bowl champion, two-time champion, NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 2010. You know, 4-time first team All Pro, 2-time second team All Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, member of the 2000 All Decade Team, and also a member of the National Football League Hall of Fame, inducted in 2020. I love Troy Polamalu and what he brought to this franchise. He was what was needed at the time. You know, they needed a spark in the secondary. They needed somebody that was not only going to cover you and make big plays. How many big plays did we see him make? Interceptions, tipping balls, catching tip balls. And then he got busy when he got the ball in his hand. Like he didn't just, okay, I got an interception. Oh, I'm just going to get tackled by the first guy, fall on the ground. No, Troy's trying to get to the end zone. He's trying to get to pay dirt. He's trying to make a play. You know, that was Troy Polamalu. And he did it with a reckless abandon. Again, as wild. This is the thing that's funny about him. As wild and crazy and reckless and fearless that he played on the football field, off the field, he is the most soft-spoken, nicest man that you could meet. You would have, you just saw him, especially if you see him today, he's got a ton of gray hair. You would have no idea that this man was the type of football player that he was. You would have no clue. That's what he was. But you know what? Sometimes the best football players, they just turn into something different when they get on the football field. Troy Polamalu was that. So that is my list, people, as far as the top 5 best draft picks for the Pittsburgh Steelers of all time. Let's go to the poll question. That one was a fun research. Which Steeler legend had the most profound impact on the franchise? A, is it Mean Joe Green? B, Terry Bradshaw? C, Rod Woodson? Or D, Franco Harris? Or E, Troy Polamalu? Be interesting. I think this one's going to be all over the board. I know who I'm picking. I think I already told you all who I thought was my person. But again, make sure you put a number next to the letter so we know exactly which poll question that you are answering. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Final mock draft time. Look, pick 21. They got 6 draft picks. There's talk all over the place about what they should do. Should they move back? Should they move up? Stay put? Who they should take? All that's about to be over. Now is the time. So let's dig in here and find out. Look, this draft is who I want the Steelers to take. If everything worked out in our favor, this is what I want the Steelers to do. This is what I'm looking at. You know, you can look. You can only do so much with simulators. So you can't plug everything in the right way. You can't plug anything in. You just have. You're at the mercy of it. So I did a couple of them, and I said, you know what? This is it right here. This is the one that I want them to do. So without further ado, let's put these bad boys up, and let's find out what we're doing here. First off, in the first round, Pittsburgh Steelers, they take Derek Harmon, defensive tackle out of Oregon. A lot of people said Kenneth Grant. I've said it for weeks. I don't think Kenneth Grant's going to be available. I think he's going to get taken before the Pittsburgh Steelers have the ability to take him. Should they move up for him? Absolutely not. It would make zero sense to move up for Kenneth Grant. There's a plethora of defensive tackles available in this draft. I'm not even sure that Derek Harmon is not better than Grant. That's first off. So if he's available, that's who I want. 21, Derek Harmon. Third round pick, Denzel Burke, cornerback out of Ohio State. Now, look, I get it. We need offense, but we also need defense. I told you before, we didn't address the position in the offseason. We did not. We signed short-term fixes. We did not address it for the long term. Here's your opportunity. I like Denzel Burke. He's good corner, little handsy, but I feel like he can be taught. Look, if we sign Darius Slay for no other reason is to help these young guys, understand what they need to do, what they're doing wrong, more importantly, and where they can get better. So I like this pickup here in the third round. If Denzel Burke, for instance, if he's available, because I'm not sure he's even going to be available here with this pick, but if he is, based on what this simulation was, this needs to be the pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Fourth round, pick 123. I bit the bullet. Will Howard, quarterback, Ohio State. Now, you guys have heard me for weeks talking about, I watched him at Kansas State. He was okay, but he wasn't spectacular. But here's a situation where Will Howard, he can make every throw. He's athletic enough. He's big, he processes information pretty well, but it's just what I said. He's okay at everything. He doesn't excel at everything. For instance, like Shedeur Sanders excels at a lot. He does a lot of things really good. Cam Ward, same thing. They do a lot of things really good. Where Will Howard, he just does things good. He's okay at everything. There's nothing that he's going to do that you're going to say, oh, man, well, he's got a rocket arm. No. Oh, he's a phenomenal athlete. No, he's a good athlete. Oh, man, he processes all the information. You got to watch some tape. Does he? He does it pretty good, but he's not phenomenal. So that's why he's a fourth-round draft pick. But again, nothing wrong with being a fourth-round draft pick. That's number one. The Steelers have to address the position, even if Will Howard is a career backup. Fine, let him be a career backup. Kind of reminds you a little bit of Mason Rudolph, just a little bit more athletic than Mason Rudolph. That's Will Howard. So, fifth round, Devin Neal, running back out of Kansas. See, I thought about going with a running back in the third and the fourth, but I said nope. There's plenty of running backs. Devin Neal is still a good one, and he's available in the fifth. Now, again, the Steelers can get Devin Neal in the fifth. This will be one of the steals of the draft because he's a better talent than this. Again, he's not a speed demon. He's not a 4.3 guy. But you don't really see him getting caught a lot either. Run down. He's very shifty, can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a willing blocker, good blocker in pass protection. He would fit exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers are wanting to do. He's not this gigantic guy. He's more he's taller than Jaylen Warren, but most people are taller than Jaylen Warren, but he's kind of a little bit in that mode. But I'd love if, again, we could get Devin Neal in the 5th round. The Steelers did well for themselves. They did well for themselves. 6th round, Holland Pierce, offensive tackle out of Rutgers. Look, this is a pick where you don't need the guy to come in and start right away. This is a developmental pick. And everybody will tell you the guy's a good athlete, just needs to be taught the fundamentals. Now, I know the first thing you're going to say is, come on, Big B, we don't trust Pat Meyer to do that. Okay, I get it, but we got to trust something. We can't just not address the position because we don't like the position coach. That's not how this thing works. So we have to address it. Whether he can coach them up or not, we got to hope that he can. Maybe he has a pet project and he's going to work on it. Hell, coaches are allowed to get better too. You know what I'm saying? We can't just say, well, players get better, but coaches can't. Coaches can get better too. So maybe Pat Meyer's gotten better. Maybe he's realized the last couple of years the things that he is teaching isn't working. He needs to do something different. Nothing wrong with that. But this would definitely be a project, but it's one that's worth it because, again, the Steelers need depth at the position. 7th round, Tyler Cooper, interior offensive lineman out of Minnesota. Same thing. Project, 7th round pick, got a mean streak, which is exactly what you need to play interior offensive line in the National Football League. He's got that. Hopefully, he won't be put in the same situation that Mason McCormick was put in last year. McCormick wasn't supposed to play. I've said it several times. He was supposed to sit behind James Daniel and Siamalo and learn. Just get his technique and learn. But those guys, both of them got hurt. Daniels was out for the year. McCormick was forced into action. And again, I know people say that he's the weak link of the offensive line, but I'll be honest with you. For what he had to do, and he hit a rookie wall. There was no question. You could see it. But I think he did well. For having bad technique, to not being used to the caliber of play, he's coming from the FCS level up to the National Football League as a starter. That's a lot of leaps. And again, he wasn't some 1st round pick. He was a 4th round pick. But this was the same thing that Cooper would be. Developmental, maybe a starter down the road, but a depth piece, and hopefully he doesn't have to play this season. So that's where I look as far as the Steelers mock draft. The final one that we're going to do. I like it. It addresses the positions. I know some people are saying, come on, B, what about wide receiver? I don't think the Steelers need to do that. They got DK. They got George Pickens. They've got Roman Wilson. They got Calvin Austin Jr., Skoranek. Scotty Miller's probably not going to make the team unless Roman Wilson just can't play. And if he can't, then he will make the team. I think the Steelers got wide receiver in the bag. I don't think they need to go out and do that. Now, they could get a depth piece. Don't get me wrong. Because they're not just going to have 5 wide receivers. They'll probably have 5 to 6 on the roster, but not in training camp. So we'll see. Maybe they do draft a guy. But we'll see what happens. But I think these are the positions right where they are. If we could do this draft right here with these specific players drafted where they are, I think the Steelers would get an A+. I think they would absolutely get an A+ on the day. Unfortunately, though, we know how the draft works, and it's not going to play out this way. But print this off. This might be the master key to the Pittsburgh Steelers draft. Who knows? Omar Khan might be watching. He's like, you know what? That Big B guy knows what the hell he's talking about. Let me try to get these players in this order, see if we can't make this thing work. If he does, I'm going to need a cut of something. I don't know, whether it's season tickets, cash, whatever it is. Thunderbird. I'm going to need something from Omar Khan. Let's go to the poll question, people. So poll number 4. What do you think is the Steelers' biggest need that was addressed in Big B's final mock draft? Was it A, Derek Harmon, B, Denzel Burke, C, Will Howard, D, Devin Neal, E, Holland Pierce, or F, Tyler Cooper? Only 6 draft picks right now. Again, we don't know. The Steelers could make a trade. I don't like. I heard the report today as far as what the Steelers could do. I don't like it. Move it all the way back to 31 with KC. That's way too far. Way too far. And if we did that, I need a second and a third next year. That's what I need. I can't move back that far without getting something because that's ugh. Either way, make sure you put the number 4 by what letter so we know exactly what poll that you guys are answering. So, look, people, this is a pivotal year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. There is no question that this is pivotal. They can't in this draft, I think, is one of the more important drafts just for the simple fact that, we got a lot of guys that we got to get. We got some holes that we got to fill. We didn't do that in free agency, which, again, I thought was insane. We have the money. We could have created even more money. So why not go out and try to get some free agents? They didn't do that. Now we got a ton of compensatory picks for next year. Okay, great. But I'm not one of those people that look at 2026. We haven't even drafted guys in 2025 yet. We haven't played that season. I'm not giving up on it. There's some people that are just, hey, this is whatever it is this year. It's a bridge year. I don't believe it. I don't believe that. Now, maybe I'm being foolish because we don't even know who's going to be the quarterback. So maybe I'm just being a fan too much and looking into it way too deep. And I get that. But I'm just not going to give up on it. I'm not, because how many years does Cam Hayward have left? Does he have a decade left? No. How many years has TJ Watt got left? If he's even a Steeler. I know we don't want to talk about that, but how many years does he have left? They don't have bridge years. They don't have throwaway years. They want to win a Super Bowl right now. So do I. I want to win a Super Bowl. I want to start by winning a game. I want to win playoff games. It's just we got to shore up these holes. We can't go into the season having these big holes in the franchise and thinking something's going to happen. So, a big draft coming up, some bigger decisions, I'm sure, down the road. I'm excited for it. The one thing that I'm really excited for is versus this offseason and all the speculation, now we're going to get to actually talk about football and how people fit into the Steelers roster and what it looks like. Get down to minutia of it, the football stuff. That's what I love, people. So that's all I got for you today, man. I appreciate you all being here as always. Thank you for the support. Again, like, follow, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button. Like I mentioned before, YouTube's kind of punishing us a little bit with the like button. So make sure you do that. Get in those comment sections like you always do. Leave those comments. We appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon, and aloha.